Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, we're going to talk about a wife's influence. So I put up a post earlier this morning inside of our Facebook community where I was talking about, a wife influence, and I was basically sharing how your God ordained future husband he needs your help, and when God reveals to us that this particular man is our God ordained future husband, understand what God is saying here. He's letting you know that you are his wife and you also have the ability to influence this man for the better, right? And so now it's left up to us, the wives, to tap into that influence, okay? See, this is why God put us in divine separation. He don't want us looking at, the counterfeit. He don't want you, fearing what the enemy, how the enemy is manipulating this whole God ordained stance. He don't want you looking at any of these things. He want us to tap into our influence. He want us to know the power of prayer, right? He want us to really grow, okay, as an individual, okay? Because you have the power to help, change your God ordained husband for the better. All right. But your husband, he needs your help. Your husband wants to become a better man. Your husband, he want to change for the better. The thing is, he don't always know how, right? He don't always know how. Okay. So when you see certain things coming up in your God ordained love story, within your prodigal husband, don't always, allow it to frustrate you. Look at it as, okay, this is what my husband is dealing with, or this is a challenge, this is a situation my husband is now, being challenged with. Okay, he need my help. So come on, let's help him help mate. Let's help him help me, because that's who you are as his wife. Okay, as wives, we are accountability partners. As wives, we are the ones who walk alongside our husband, right? You got to learn how to speak to the king in him. You have to learn how to hold him accountable in a way that causing him to respond for the better. Okay, this is what God has called us to do in our husband lives. Okay, but understand and know that your husband want to change for the better, and he don't always know how to bring about that change. And so therefore, this is where your influence as his wife come in at. So instead of tolerating certain, these bad behaviors from him, you get clear on what are my new standards, what are the boundaries I'm going to build into this God ordained, between us, into our God ordained love story, right? So that we can go ahead and eliminate these bad, behaviors, right? If you continue to tolerate the bad behavior, if you continue to lower your standards and accept, less from your God ordained future husband, less is what you're going to get. And so we gotta, as wives, we have to, in order to do all of what I'm saying in this video, you gotta first love yourself. You have to know what your standards are. You have to have standards, high standards for yourself. You have to already be living a life, that communicates boundary to other people. If you're gonna, show up this way with your husband, okay, it's gonna be really hard for you to um, it's going to be really hard for you to enforce standards and boundaries to your future husband if you have none in your own life. Okay. And this is where a lot of us are going wrong at, because we trying, y'all hear me talk about accountability. You hear me talk about raise your standards and have boundaries. And when you try to do it, right, when you enforce your standards and when you give a boundary, but then your God ordained husband, he resisted, or he might behave in manipulative ways, right? You give in and you break your own boundary, or you lower your own standard. Listen, before I can give a standard, I have to be the standard in my own life. I have to be living this out already in my own life. Before I can enforce a boundary to anyone, I have to have boundaries concerning who I am as a person. Okay? It all starts with me first. Then I can enforce it to others. Then I can communicate my standards. Okay? So you have to love you first. Okay? Loving you is going beyond just looking good. Loving you goes beyond just making sure your body is tight. Loving you is understanding you are deserving of being treated with respect. Loving you is knowing your value as a wife and as a woman. Okay? Loving you is putting a stop to the mistreatment. Loving you is not settling for less. Okay? We got to go deep here. So understand when we talk about a wife influence, you have the ability to influence your husband to change for the better. The way how you're going to influence your husband to change for the better, you're going to stop tolerating the mistreatment. Stop, dealing with him when you know he's still in contact with this counterfeit. You can't be afraid to let him go. You got to allow him to go ahead and have that counterfeit so that he can get the clarity he needs while he's with the counterfeit that I had it better at home. Home is over here with my God ordained. You can't be afraid of losing him. And when you really listen to what God said, God told you that's your God ordained husband. It's ended in marriage. So you can't even be afraid. There's nothing to fear here because God is already telling you the end result is ended in marriage. It's just right now you got to go through this in between. Okay? Let that counterfeit go through the mistreatment. Let that counterfeit go ahead and tolerate all of that nonsense while you remove your presence. You have to know your value. Okay? You have to, become a woman, who has standards, right? A woman of worth. Okay? So understand, like I said, your husband, he want to change for the better, but not all the time he know exactly how to do it. Okay? And so this is where you come in at. Hold him accountable. He give you his word. He tell you he's going to do something. Hold him accountable to his word. If he created a mess, hold him accountable by allowing him to sit in that mess and get himself out of that mess. You don't help him to get out of the mess he created for himself. Okay? Some of y'all, your God ordained prodigal husband is going through their judgment. Don't help him. He created the mess. Now it's time for him to sit in the mess and get himself out of this mess. This is the only way they're going to learn. But if you help him and extend a helping hand, when he's going through his judgment season, he will never learn from his mistakes. He will stay operating in immaturity when God is calling him to mature and get to this next level. The way how you influence your husband is by speaking to the king you see in him. See, the counterfeits are going to tear him down and remind him of who he's not. The counterfeit is going to point out, okay, the perceived flaws. The counterfeit is going to remind him that he's not good enough. It's just going to just tear him down. You don't respond that way. You speak to the king in him. You speak to, the very thing you see in your husband. Align your words with what God says about him. Okay. So again, you're gonna tap into your influence as a wife, and again, you tap into it with accountability. You tap into it with your standards, with enforcing your boundaries, loving yourself, not being afraid to let him go. And when you let him go, you continue to live your life. Come on now. So this is how this is just one way how you can begin to influence your husband in ways where it helps him to become a better man. Because when he get the revelation that you are his wife, he's not going to let you go. He's going to figure it out. He's going to, he might be wallowing in this with these counterfeits, but he's going to figure out, I got to hurry up and get back to my wife because this is wifey right here. This is one of a kind. This is, this individual, this is, she's unique. She's different. She treat me like a king. He's going to hurry up and get back to this. But you got to require it. Okay? You have to know your value. Okay? You got to love yourself. And you got to require this from your husband. You got to require, don't accept anything less than best from him. You see the best in him, so require him to elevate to the best. Don't shrink down. Don't go down to his level. You bring him up to your level. Okay? This is how we use our influence as a wife. All right? So that is it. I am Taquila Coleman. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care.